Let's welcome Michael Perman to AWE. Michael.
There's my speech. Oops. You're still here. Well, this is both the toughest spot and the best spot in the conference, because if you're still here, you're a curious bunch, and curiosity leads to imagination, and imagination leads to innovation. So thanks for staying. But first of all, let's give a standing O for the AWE conference and for yourself from the first day. Everyone stand up and give a O for the AWE producers and the conference people. So, it's great to be here. The question I have for you today, with your curiosity, because curiosity does lead to imagination and inquiry and exploration, and being open to dealing with the most ambiguous questions like the ones I have today, which is, what do you crave in your life? What do you crave right now? What images are popping into your field of vision? What are the emotions swirling around in your head, and what do your customers crave? Have you ever thought about that? I have. In fact, I've been researching the answers to this question about human craving for about 2 decades. But what I ask right now is for you to just think about that craving question as over the next 18 minutes as a way to let the ideas percolate. And then come on down after the presentation. I have some prizes for the first 3 people who come to me and express what they crave. And I can stay to meet with you and answer some questions afterwards. There will be prizes. Through my craving exploration, I've mined some pretty crazy insights about the relationship between what people crave and the ideas that you can create for the future that satisfies those cravings, ideas that can influence the experiences that you create when you have extra empathy and insight into the deepest desires in the minds of the people you wish to charm with your Svengali content and your magical images. Ideas become keys to access the pleasure centers of our minds, to touch human emotion, to elevate our senses, to foster escape and imagination. Over the past 25 years, I've conducted more than 300 ethnographies, observing and conversing with people all over the world, where they work, eat, play, shop, worship, commute, and create. I've probed on that craving question with more than 36 innovation luminaries, fascinating people, and I've also gathered facts from quantitative research with more than 900 people across the country. And in essence, what I learned are 2 major things. One, the definition of the word craving is changing in our society, and there's a link between what people crave and the innovation that we can generate that satisfies those cravings. These 2 main discoveries have implications for all of you who create new realities and mixed realities and virtual realities and the tools that enable those realities to happen. The meaning of the word craving is shifting away from its association with creature comforts and immediate satisfaction, or even dangerous addictions that lead to uncontrollable and nasty behavior. But craving actually has less nefarious roots. It actually has roots in Buddhism, in the word tanha, which means a thirst, a desire, a wish for something greater, a wish for something greater. The word craving also becomes democratized in the marketing world, used commercially as a pun for desire. Let's listen to a couple of examples of that happening here. I like to write that word craving in all capital letters because it evokes clarity and passion and desire and power. Try writing that word now in your notes. those hard-sounding consonants and those edgy letters seem to pop off the page with stronger dimension, with seductive temptation, evoking a plethora of emotions and sensational delights. Can I eat the manifestations of that word in a spicy sriracha sauce? Should I roll that word in mango paper and smoke it? Can I make it come streaming into my digital feed with countless stories and friends and images and poetry and stories that evoke my imagination and change the virtual experiences I have into the deepest desires of our most mysterious lives? What people crave today, the type of desires they hold is changing. In fact, when we asked 900 people what they crave in 3 different categories: 1, creature comforts for immediate satisfaction, feelings such as joy and exhilaration, or lifelong quests for purpose and meaning. What did we find? The vast majority, people crave feelings or purpose and meaning. So a feeling of exhilaration, of love, of silliness, of imagination, or the quest for purpose, Jungian archetypes, creativity, caring for others, wisdom. People today are craving those lifelong quests for meaning and purpose to feel more than the desires for creature comforts. And the brands and the content that are serving that in both entertaining and purposeful ways are going to thrive in this environment. To gain even deeper insights into the craving question, we interviewed more than 30 interesting innovation luminaries in our podcast, Craving the Future. They're all in the midst of creating something new or shaping culture and designing in their spheres of influence. There's more than 30 episodes available on iTunes, and they range from the future of sports and space exploration to the future of reading, learning, money, cryptocurrency, perfect timing, and even mixed reality. Let's listen to a couple for a moment about the concept of craving and how they articulate it.
You're listening to Craving the Future with Michael Perman.
People who are interested in cryptocurrency and blockchain crave authenticity.
Research, it comes out in many other realms of research, is meaning. I think that's what people crave more than anything else. They crave a sense of meaning.
I think that in general, people are craving wholeness. They're craving the entire complexity, the entire symphony. They're craving the experience of what full potential is. And when it comes to creativity, we're craving remembering the truth of who we are.
There's also this craving for an abundant and brighter future.
I would say they crave to feel alive, and nothing other than play does that.
I crave being centered, just distancing myself from the hustle and bustle. And I really crave the time I spend being mindful, that it gives me such clarity. And so, the more I can set myself up for that, it just becomes a powerful tool.
What are people craving in terms of experiences? I think novelty.
I think people crave comfort and safety at all times. We just want to feel comfortable. We want to feel like, next level, we want to feel like we belong somewhere, like we're wanted, like we have some reason for being. Those are a little bit higher level than comfort and safety.
Play, I believe, is as sacred and necessary as breathing, eating, and drinking water.
I crave.
It gives you a sense of it, but if we could double click into 3 examples, you'll get even a deeper sense. Priya Lakhani is the CEO of recently founded Sentry Tech, which does AI-based learning technology for customization of the learning experience. Oops, this was backwards. Let's go with Jay. Jay is the CEO of Observatory, an agency in Los Angeles that was formed from Creative Artists Agency. And Jay's point is that in order to connect with consumers on a deep level, that you need to have a level of authenticity and engagement. People are zipping through commercials, they're being selective about their content, they're not listening to junk, and in order to get connected to them, you have to deliver the creativity and the authenticity that they desire most. And Andy from Wheelware, Andy was previously with Daiquiri, and they've now developed a very interesting and powerful headset concept that is their hands-free knowledge transfer that enables people in industrial situations, entertainment situations, medical situations to develop transfer knowledge in a hands-free manner. So the thing about you guys in this group is you can create whatever you can imagine. And while that can be a fantastic situation and a shitload of fun, you can take people wherever they want. You can create these emotional sensations, but you can bring a lonely person, an elderly person, to optimism, or to someone who is injured to a beautiful place that uplifts their spirits, brings immense joy and promise for the future. Let's travel to Bali with a Swedish meatball party, with the bus ride with ABBA, shall we? My fantasy would be more about Neil Young and having some smoked salmon with Neil Young sitting in his old farm somewhere, just enjoying, chewing the fat, hanging out with him, having a bit of smoked salmon. Can somebody here create that fantasy for me? That'd be really fantastic. Your imagination is your only restriction. And while that level of creative power is a shitload of fun, it's also an awesome responsibility, because now we know what can happen when we're not tuned into the possibility of unintended consequences when it comes to media and content that we enable, like we saw with Facebook, where we had third parties facilitating friendships, and the pollution that was possible into their system led to a presidential election being tainted, and even some people to commit suicide. So we need to be careful about what it is we actually create. But you're all catalysts, change makers, and creative thinkers. You walk with the energy of those around you, and you add your own. And in so doing, you become mediums of what's possible, champions of what's possible, ready to shape what's coming next, and ready to innovate to the greatest degree possible. And what is innovation? Innovation is the ability to perceive alternative realities and the courage to move forward with those, the courage to move those forward with those visions. So what craving are you satisfying with your customers now? What kind of content and experience are you providing that satisfy those cravings? You know, it's propitious, I guess, that we're next to the Levi Stadium. One of my first revelations about this concept of craving was with Levi's when I was in charge of consumer insights, trends, and eventually global marketing. One area we explored was the concept of mobility, how people were moving around in the world. From sunrise to sunset, they had different mobility issues. We spent time with bikers doing ethnography in their culture. And when you're immersed in the culture of an audience, you can actually see people's minds light up to certain inquiries. Their physical bodies are changing. Their pleasure centers are illuminating. Bike commuters crave agility and a sense of freedom. Freedom of movement, but also freedom from other forms of transportation, which was great for Levi's because Levi's whole brand was built on freedom. It was built on freedom during the gold rush, during the post-war industrialism and the building of the suburbs, the rebellion of suburbs with Marlon Brando and James Dean, the Woodstock, the falling of the Berlin Wall, and even the dot-com era in the beginning when Steve Jobs would wear Levi 501 to Gap board meetings. So this craving and sensation for freedom was familiar with Levi's customers, but we had to pull it together in such a way that was relevant to them. And they desired that strong agility and freedom. So our brilliant designers pulled together the Levi's Commuter brand, which became around a $200 million opportunity for them. Helping Levi's turn around its business was an amazing experience. And that's when I realized if we can understand people's deepest desires beyond their typical wants and needs that you go through in a marketing situation, we can more effectively drive innovation in more fantastic ways. When people crave the future, they often wish for an experience or a thing or a feeling that makes them more complete. And all the products we create, the experiences we produce, the initiatives we undertake, and the content we convey, they're all in search of some underlying desire and satisfaction for people's craving. You know, as a futurist, I follow a lot of different trends. And so editing is one of the most difficult challenges. But there's three innovation waves that I thought were relevant for you that I can share with you today. One, blurality. People are attempting to navigate the blurry landscape of reality that's augmented, virtual, mixed, and I guess you can call it the VX system. But I'll tell you, the people in this room and the people in this conference are much more sophisticated and much further ahead in their thinking than the average consumer. So the average consumer is in the blurry landscape. They're living in the intersection of transformative novelty and the threat of mind manipulation from artificial intelligence in the wild west of content like we've never seen before. Now, how will all these new versions of reality influence consumer behavior once that buzz of lovely has worn off? Then there's also the issue of what information is real. Trust in this country, as you know, has eroded over the last 2 decades. Trust in any institution. And now we have a president who has lied in a certified way more than 3,000 times in the last 15 months. And we have conspiracy theorists who insist that all those lies never actually happened. You know, how do you make sense of any of that? What is reality and what is truth? I think Maureen Dowd said it best in this clip from the New York Times. We have crossed a line into a surreal dimension where we are limited only by our imaginations. The American identity and the American values are fungible at the moment. The guardrails are off. Our brains are so scrambled that it's starting to make sense that none of it makes sense. So on the bright side, we do have movies such as Ready Player One who can bring us from misery and challenge into beauty and fantasy. People come to the Oasis for all the things they can do, but they stay for all the things that they can be. The next concept, the next innovation wave is called Mind Quest. People's desire to learn and to use their minds in new ways will grow rapidly because so much of the other thinking is being done for us. We're raising a generation of people who are comfortable speaking to objects, says Kara Swisher from Recode. Consumers will have an elevated expectation for what information is conveyed to them. Is it real? Does it add to my wisdom? They're going to expect a blend of messaging and experiences that are efficient but also expansive. So how are you going to make that happen? Mindfulness and quantum science are also going to be integrated into the organizational thinking as a way to cope with the massive waves of content that we're asked to absorb. We're entering a phase where binary thinking is dissolving and quantum thinking is emerging with multiple ways of decisions and opportunities and solutions for problems that exist. And then there's mindfulness. More than 25% of large corporations are now incorporating mindfulness into their training for leaders because it develops their ability to make decisions more effectively, leads to collaboration, better decision making, and better retention and loyalty. People are going to become more judicious about filtering what they want to learn, and their desire for knowledge will be unquenchable. The next one is called dispersion. Businesses are moving from centralized mass production to products and services to more dispersed, flexible, and concurrent ways to create things. This is the gig economy, yes, the gig economy on steroids. Democratization of everything facilitated by micropayments, but it's broader than that. Micromanufacturing will likely thrive as more economical and sustainable options. The Adidas Speed Factory is one example. Mass-produced, customized 3D printing at scale. Looks like something from Alien, doesn't it? The movie Alien. So how might you shift the way that we deploy assets and utilize resources? How will you manage a virtual organization where roles and hierarchy are flatter? This new wave of crowdsourcing will shift us from the way we think about investing in assets and managing people for greater flexibility, more transparency, more ability to harness global resources as needed. Look, you are all catalysts, change makers, and creative thinkers. You walk with the energy of those around you and you add your own. And in so doing, you become mediums of what's possible, champions of what's possible, ready to apply your creative energy to the next thing, to creating what's next. Learning what people crave illuminates the future, enables those of you with imaginative powers to create what's next in ways that are meaningful and appreciated. And for those of you who are not pure creators, understanding what people crave will enable you to assess and determine which of the many future-focused themes extolled by futurists and people like myself are the right ones for you to follow. 5 years from today, some of you are going to become wildly successful. Some of you are going to become mildly irrelevant. The difference may rest in your ability to deploy, to deeply understand what people crave, and then satisfy those cravings in imaginative ways. So as you peer into the glimmering light ahead and feel that urge to create what's next, to think about what people crave, open up your mind to listen with open intent and great curiosity, to gather stories about the deep desires of the people that you serve, to create experiences that touch emotion, and generate empathy and memory, to understand the cravings that can be satisfied. If you do all that, I think you're going to be happy with the results, or at a minimum, have a shitload of fun along the way. Thank you very much. Have a nice night.